We
So
are
this
that.
is the bit we don't talk over, right?
No, we don't talk over this.
Oh,
No.
okay, right.
Good morning, everybody. This is the 10 o'clock news from the EVC on Friday, the 16th of September. Brought to you today by Geotab, My Energy, the AA, and EV Civils. I'm John Curtis. That's Sarah Sloman. That's Paul Kirby. They're our news hounds. Get yourself a cuppa. Settle down for the latest in sustainability news. But before we kick off, a quick question for the news hounds. If you were one of Disney's 7 dwarfs, which best exemplifies you today?
Happy!
Sarah, happy. Paul?
Always a little dopey, right?
Oh, bless his little heart. All that I know is I'm not bashful, and anyone who says I'm grumpy, get marching orders. Now, the news. Public charging has hit £1 per kilowatt hour. The spiralling cost of wholesale electricity has forced Osprey to increase its rapid charging rate to £1 per kilowatt hour. Paul, you're old enough to remember when dinosaur steaks were £1 a kilo. Anyway, the increase, which came into force yesterday, September the 15th, was labelled unavoidable by Ian Johnson, Osprey Charging's Chief Executive Officer. He said, all standard energy pricing is at unprecedented levels, but it's a 50% hike from its previous of 66 pence per kilowatt hour, making it the most expensive charge point operator, surpassing 69 pence, my favourite number, from Ionity. Now then, is this bound to happen? Will it go higher? Or will we see as energy prices start to come back under control in due course, that the numbers will come down? Paul, what do you think, darling?
Well, interesting. I've just been talking to a energy broker this morning, a friend of the EV Café called Gerard Duggan. I forget the name of his actual business, but and he was actually saying that it's a very, very complicated process, and each business will actually have a different tariff depending on how they demand energy. It's a real challenge, and I think I have every sympathy with Osprey and the difficulties that they face. In proactively managing their costs, it's a really tough one, and I have sympathy for them. I don't think that they're profiteering, and I wouldn't suggest that they were. But everybody's in a different place, and everybody can operate under different prices, so it's challenging.
And to get the best value out of your EV, of course, charging at home and overnight, Sarah, is the thing you should be doing, but it's not possible for all.
No, correct. And also, I really liked how Ian did address everything and everyone by just saying, well, prices will come down again, but we have to be responsive. We're trying to roll out infrastructure for the future. And right now, it's hard. I mean, Ionity has been 69p for a very long time. I was infamous or not popular for saying, I bet you it's all going to end up like that in a couple of years. And it absolutely has. So EV Cafe news on the money.
And I don't recall anybody from Big Oil standing up and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to be charging 180, 190, £2 and justifying it in the same way. So well done, Ian. We just have to suck through our teeth and pay it. Sorry, exactly. Paul, you were going to say.
No, I was just going to say that it's always going to remain difficult, and the sort of price cycle that has changed, has been beyond anybody's imagination. And even charging at home is going to be difficult, and the cap is maybe not going to help. Business, home, yes; business, less so.
You're never good in a cap. Anyway, Barclays is one of five new EV100 members. Barclays has joined the EV100 commitment to transition its fleet to electric vehicles by 2030, along with 4 other businesses. They include Bayer, international finance services provider Allianz, India's fastest growing agri-commerce company, Way Cool, love that name, and precision instrumentation supplier Spectris. The new members will collectively transition more than 44,000 vehicles to electric by 2030. And Waycall and Spectris have also committed to installing charging infrastructure across their estates for use by their staff and customers. Now, by 2030, this number of electric vehicles for the EV100 should reach 5.5 million. But with 33 million vehicles on our roads in the UK, There's an awful lot to be done. Paul, we've got a session next week on Wednesday where we are going to talk about sustainability in fleets and how to start that transition process, because there are simply millions of people driving vehicles who are totally unprepared. Tell us about what's happening next week.
So next week we have the pleasure of joining the wonderful people at Cox Automotive. We're having a networking event and then a live session where we'll all be together in the same room, not dotted around the country as we are now, and we'll get Sarah out of her car. Yes, we will. You heard it here first. And we'll be talking about the automotive sector and everything that's got to be done. And recently I've been talking to the Vehicle Remarketing Association, thinking about the future, the next level, because 33 million vehicles on the road, they've all got to change over time. And there are 8 million used vehicle transactions every year versus the 2 million new. So, we can see where the weight of influence will come over time. But great to see new members of the EV100. I was at LeasePlan when they became a founding member of the EV100 and done some great work. And it's been a great learning experience. And the EV100 does make a difference to business and to the business landscape by what they do. So it's fantastic.
And Sarah, can you name check who we've got as guests next week at Wednesday, 12 noon on YouTube Live and LinkedIn Live? Who have we got for our webinar?
Pretty sure we've got, is it Paul Humphreys from Cox Automotive and Graham Cooper, the very one from National Grid. But then my memory fails me. However, we have got, 80 guests coming along. So I'm so excited, not only to be in the same room as you lovely lot, but also I really noticed last week the audience is changing. They're challenging us more and more. And that's exactly what the EV Cafe is trying to do, is bring forward those challenges so we can thrash them out and get to the answer quicker.
So
I think
Sorry, Paul.
I think it's exciting that we're going to have a sort of question time-esque element to the EV Cafe. So we'll have our guest speakers and we've sort of knocked one off so that we can talk to the audience that will be in the room with us. Fantastic.
We've knocked one off.
That was off. That was off.
Anyway, moving on. Happy for hydrogen. I'm always happy for hydrogen because Loop Energy, designer and manufacturer of hydrogen fuel cells for commercial mobility, has announced it will expand into the UK. Loop Energy's new facility will be based in Grays in Essex, east of the centre of London, situated next to a group of manufacturers helping decarbonise road transport, including current customer Teva Motors, the hydrogen and electric truck OEM based in Tilbury. This has got to be good news, surely. Sarah, your view on hydrogen, good, bad, or indifferent?
I'm on the I think I really do have the sentiment that I want to push forward with electrification because we are so distracted in this industry. And I had this conversation just this morning with my CEO about focus. We have to focus on getting stuff in the ground to what the market wants right now. But I wouldn't rule it out. I think it was about 3 years ago I went to Cenex and they were talking about how hydrogen was great for HGV, and it was all new to me. And that's why I do the job I do, because I'm in innovation and I want to learn. So I cannot, like any scientific approach, say no to any technology in theory, but right now I'm still thinking it's a tertiary option.
Oh, tertiary. That would be fair. Paul, what do you reckon?
I'm lucky enough to have been down to Tilbury to see Teva in their factory there and see the prototypes coming to life. And what they've done is an interesting mix actually of hydrogen and electric. So instead of going for the hydrogen only approach, where with a very, very small sort of small kilowatt hour battery to translate that hydrogen, they've mixed 80 kilowatt hour batteries with about 15 or 20 kilos of hydrogen to give a significant, and in fact 450 kilometers range on a 7.5 ton truck, which means that they can really press on to where at the moment battery electric hasn't got to. So the fact that that's available today is a good news thing. Hydrogen can be created on site through the Loop Energy's facility, and they can sort of bunker hydrogen. So actually the infrastructure is not so important. I think it's a very good thing. I'm really interested to see how it works, but I get hydrogen still has a lot of question marks over it.
Yeah,
So I mean,
Darren raises a good point, though, that hydrogen absolutely dominated Cenex this year, to the annoyance of many, actually, for some reason. But it's good to see the technology there. That's what Cenex does, is brings forward options for future years. But shout out again to the AA, who launched their hydrogen recovery vehicle, the first of its kind, at the British Motor Show this year. So it cannot be ignored.
did you mention the AA by any chance? Because
The AA.
that's our next story. Our partners, the AA sponsor. Sorry, Paul. Go on. You
Well,
have a thing.
I was just going to say the beauty of hydrogen is it does, I think, allow towing to happen.
I don't know. Ask the audience. They'll know.
I think so.
And if Paul doesn't know, it's not worth knowing. The AA, our partners, sponsors, and great friends, have been doing a little bit of work around the MOT, and 29% of all vehicles fail at the first attempt. So almost a third of vehicles fail their MOT. That's a huge cost for motorists. And do you know what? The really odd thing is that the highest rated reason for failing, the number one reason for failing, is lamps, reflectors, and electrical equipment. Now, lamps and reflectors, you can sort yourselves, people. You can save yourself shed loads of money by just having a quick squiz around your vehicle every week, just checking it out, making sure you haven't got any bulbs out and all that stuff. Other things that are major causes of failure are suspension, less easy to do, brakes, bit DIY, can be done, I wouldn't. Tyres, visual check on your tyres, and visibility defects. And they completed the top 5 the AA approved garages said. Now then, 10 million cars between September and December will require an MOT. It's going to be busy, people. So get your MOT booked, get it early, and then you won't have a nasty surprise when Plod stops you and says, "Hello, Governor, you've got an MOT." Right, okay. In other news, we are becoming massive, aren't we, Paul?
Always.
All right, I'll rephrase that. We went to Wembley this week and we were
Wembley!
in the transport show.
Wembley.
The EV Cafe played Wembley Stadium. I just wanted to thank very, very much Ground Transport Events, who put on the Ground Transport show, 45 exhibitors, over 800 people registered to come along, and we were there. We were able to impart, hopefully, some light, some heat, some passion, and throw a bone to those who say, "Oh, it's a bit difficult doing EV," or "Why EV?" Paul, we had a great time there, didn't we?
We did. We had a fabulous time. And what was really lovely was to be talking to a new group of people as much as anything. But there was still some, from our logistics and courier friends, they were there talking about last mile, but also the private hire, which is an area that, these guys are going to be in and around our inner cities. And they were very open. Some great conversations. Great to hear from Addison Lee, obviously very, very big in the center of London and other cities. And it's incredible to see that their passion and their heart to decarbonize as well and improve the air quality. And of course, give their drivers a much better experience.
Of course, Addison Lee, 450 electric taxis right now. I'll have 1,000 by the end of the year. That's utterly brilliant. Great effort from them. Sarah, what did you like about the Grand Transport Show?
Oh, my favourite panel by far. I go to these shows to learn off other people in the room, right, and watch the panel sessions. It's great that we're invited along, but the one that got me was the private hire one, where I didn't even understand the differences between licensing normal taxis and other taxis and chauffeur-driven taxis, and the complexity with that is shouldn't have been a surprise, but it was just the attitude of sort of really wanting to do the right thing, but feeling like it was hard for them to get there, and they were asked to pick out their 4 big priorities to represent those 4 sectors, and the one that stood out for me was manufacturer support. There isn't enough vehicles like there. And then Asher Moses from Sherbet comes along with his taxi, and it says on the side, like, calling out Uber for being a petrol organisation, and then come on with Sherbet London, we are pure EV. So there's a lot of passion in that room. I was gutted to miss day 2 and miss so many of the EV Cafe crew as well. So I was had massive FOMO.
At the EV Cafe, we say we're here for the world, and we're tackling EV introduction and transition 1 mile at a time and 1 national stadium at a time. Next time, can we have 80,000 people in there, please? Until next Friday, it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from them. This has been an EV Cafe production. Other sustainability news services are available, but they're just not this fun. The EV Cafe news is regulated by Sparky from My Energy, Tucker from the AA, installed by EV Civils and monitored by Geotab. The news is performed by professionals. You may try this at home and at work, but it's harder than it may look. Any query regarding the accuracy of the news should be addressed to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Until next week, goodbye.
I love it. You're so good, John.
And there's Darren and Vona. It's not
He's
Darren and
praising
Vona.
you for Thursday.